Hello, and welcome to Havoc Wargaming, dedicated to bringing you the uncommon. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Ron, and today I'm going to do a review of the new Battlespace Deluxe by Modiphius Games. So let's get started. A few years ago, I received the first copy, a PDF of Battlespace from Robert Salter of Table Salt Games. He's the original writer of the game, and really enjoyed it. I've done a few reviews of the game and some after actions that you can find here on my page. I'll give you the playlist on this video so you can help me find that. And several years, I think it was like a year ago, 2 years ago, we received word that Modiphius was going to print a hard copy deluxe version of the game. We've been waiting an awful long time for this game. Even once it finally went on pre-sale. It went on pre-sale last February with a promise date of in April, and I received this last week. This video is being filmed in August, so way overdue. That all being said, one thing that Modiphius did, I bought 2 books from them that were on that same pre-sale. In both cases, they sent me PDFs of those. So it's not like I haven't been playing the game anyway, even with some of its advanced rules. In fact, I've already done a review of the new version of the game. You'll find that here. But that was from the PDF copy, so I'll talk a little bit now about the finished product. Also, this is a really good game. I'm going to start by saying that. This is a very enjoyable game. It's more versatile than it looks. It's designed for ultra-modern gaming. So my club has used it not only for that, for playing various forms of ultra-modern, either anti-terrorist or crime on crime, but we've been doing near-future games, playing a Russian Civil War game, and we've even used it to play Wild West. It's surprisingly versatile and easier to change into these other periods and things that it will at first appear. For those of you who aren't aware, Battlespace is designed as a solo game. My club and I, we usually play it as a co-op. Usually you're playing a fire team or 2 teams, that's so 4 to 8 guys. And what we'll do is we'll each play a man instead of playing the team. That's basically how the game works. So let's talk a little bit about the final product. It's about 48 pages. It's, I don't know what the different forms are called, but there's no spine or anything. It's, I think it's a little flimsy as a finished book, but it is all very prettily laid out. It is, I think, a little more professional looking than the original version. There's beautiful color photographs of figures being used in the game. There's been some improvements. Some of the more challenging things to find or to understand have been clarified. There's been a little bit of rule change, nothing very severe, but a little bit. Some additional rules added, and probably of the greatest use in the game. I think there's a couple of extra scenarios too, but I think of the absolute greatest use in the game is some of the additions. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Nice diagram explaining the rules. And the rules for this game are really straightforward. The brilliance of it comes from the sit rep cards, which help shake up the AI that make it feel more real and more varied than a lot of solo games or games of this nature are played. So the real differences, I would argue, that have been added, there's some rules about night missions and things like that, but there's now a mission generator. There's a chart where you can roll up and create your own scenarios. It wasn't that hard to create scenarios, but that might be a good jump starter for somebody who hasn't got an idea of what they want to do. I think that's nice. There's rules for stealth. There's increased rules for civilians. Much better explanations of how some of the cover and things like that work. Advanced. There's vehicle rules. The vehicle rules have been very much expanded from the previous system, and I think that's a really good thing. Like there's this whole chart of various vehicles to choose from now, and that's definitely a benefit. The helicopter rules. That's definitely a benefit in any modern game. So that's brilliant. There's an example of play, and right next to it is the big change. In the original game, the game came with a handful of soldiers cards, still does. We'll show you those in a moment. But there's now soldier creation. There's rules for creating your own characters. I think that's brilliant. There's going to be people who definitely want to do that. It'll certainly help if you want to modify it for other periods, maybe to reduce the levels of things. I'm thinking about running some just normal police games. And so all of that's useful. Now, I mentioned running just police games. That's another real advantage that's come with this new book, is there's brand new factions. Some of these were around as expansions for the previous game, but they're now included in the normal roles. So there's CIA. There's also new faction specialties for each of these. So there's the CIA, there's Delta Force. The game is really sort of designed about special forces actions. SAS, Spetsnaz, Navy SEALs, and now for enemy forces, this is where there's really been some serious change. It was mostly all militia and revolutionary sort of levels of enemy forces. They were weaker, usually weaker than you. Those are still around, but they've added crime syndicate, a loose affiliation of gangsters in charge of organized criminal activities. The way they wrote these, they can be pretty expansive of what you want to interpret them as. They could be narco cartels in South America or in Mexico. They could be organized crime somewhere in Europe or in the United States, mafia or Russians, Yakuza perhaps. That's interesting. They've added the Dark Lake Tactical Group, which is a PMC, private military company, but used for some of these more darker sides. So they're supporting the enemy more than the good guys of the game. So those are nice, I think, additions that will make the game useful to play some other options. I'm looking at making my own faction, so I was alluding to earlier, that would be like DEA, something a little less military and is less effective for doing some crime syndicate fighting. But the missions in here, the missions now have colored maps. They've changed some of them in small ways. They're often better described than the missions were in the original book. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Robert Salter, and I don't mean that at all. Robert Salter came up with a really good set of rules, and a very, very enjoyable game. And I think a lot of these changes and alterations I'm talking about are because of things that came up by people playing the game and when it got out there. There's a glossary, which is always great in a game. There should be more of those. So there's a glossary describing what many of the game terms mean. There's a couple pages of quick reference. It even includes the character types that are on the cards normally. So all very nice. Like I say, I'm not thrilled with the quality of the package itself. Looks nice, but I mean, it's a lot of money for a simple staple product. But it's a great game. It's really an enjoyable game. I complained earlier about how long it took me to get that. I'm going to give you a vote of confidence. I don't know if it's earned. I'm a little concerned with Modiphius right now because of how long this took. But I really do think that was a pre-order issue and a supply issue, and I have no reason to believe that that's going to be an ongoing situation if you're buying the game today when it's available right just off their store. I think this is probably mostly a matter of the past. Now, I keep talking about cards. The game relies on a lot of cards, and one of the benefits of the new version, in the old version, these were PDFs and you had to print them all out. They are pre-printed, but they don't come to you like it's a deck of cards. They come to you on sheets, on serrated sheets, all pre-printed, fronts and backs, and you pop them out. In the sheet, they felt pretty flimsy, but this is one that fell out. And actually, it feels pretty much like a normal card, so I'm happier about it than I thought. I like the design of the other cards better, of the original cards. I wish they hadn't changed the cards. That's all just, looks. None of that matters for the gameplay, and they're more color-coded than they used to be, so it's probably actually a benefit and not a negative. This is the Navy SEALs group here. There's a set of soldiers for the Navy SEALs. There's SAS, if you want to do British. There's a set of SAS. These are Spetsnaz, so you can do Russians or, I suppose, Germans. CIA, and of course, the weapons cards. All the characters are considered to have basic weapons right off the game. Their main battle rifle or assault rifle, things like that. But any other things are done by giving them cards into their loadout. Here's the Delta Force guys. More of the weapons cards. My cards are all out of order now. Here's the bad guy cards. These don't work quite the same way. They help remind you of the stats for the different levels of guys. For instance, for the Dark Lake Commander, that's a straggler. A straggler on the game is a guy by himself. His numbers are going to be a little high. He's going to be a little bit better than a normal Dark Lake guy, but the others are like a team element. A straggler with an AK-40, that's an insurgent. They're all mixed around. But the cards are basically like stat cards to remind you what the different levels of guys are like, because you'll have a mixture of opponents coming up in the game. And the opponents are driven by what are called sit rep cards. And I've alluded to them earlier. You can see better how they're used if you go and look at one of those videos I mentioned earlier. But these are cards that drive the AI. There's some basic AI movement too, but these give them less basic and alter the changes. It can also change the quality of your opponents, either of the force or more commonly one of the elements. You might give them upgraded weapons or change some of their actions from the usual rather simple AI of the game. So these are pulled in the game. They have a sit rep turn every game where they're pulled, but they're also pulled on any occasion where a opponent misses his activation roll. So yeah, it's nice that it comes with the cards. The game, I've got a 94-page book here I bought from them at the same time, normal full-bound book, and it costs the same amount of money. And I think the cards are probably the reason why, because there's a lot less book here, but I suspect it's the printing of these cards. The last things are the movement cards. These are these cards on the bottom. Those cards basically handle most of the rules. This game can be played without any measuring device at all, save that card. It's all built around that. There's also, this is a new thing, there's character sheets for if you're writing up your own characters, and there's some tokens if you wanted to use them to handle some of the issues that come up during the game. Suppression, for instance. So that is what comes with the package. It's the basic game. I don't intend to do a full review of the game here, because like I said, I have a review already of the game, and both of the original rules and of this advanced rules in PDF, I think, and certainly some after-action reports. I'm going to put some more after-action reports up now that I have the new game up, get a little bit more interest back to Battlespace. It really is. It's really a very fun game. It makes some really exciting narrative fights and some remarkable things that happen. It's really a lot of fun. It's also often, because of how the cards work and how the opponents come up, unlike a lot of other games, you might find that your opposition's pretty easy, and other times you're going to find it's overwhelming. And some people might really hate that in the game. I like it. I like the fact that I don't know who the opponents are going to be or how strong they're going to be, save, what intelligence reports we have that the scenario is based on before it begins. And sometimes these games can be harsh. Sometimes they can be pretty tough. It's a very good game. So far I have a number of veteran friends who play it. It's been very popular with them. And it's really cool to have a game that veterans feels right, and yet it's such a simplistic set of rules, and these really are simplistic. When I first played them, I thought, there's not enough meat here. But you're going to find there is, that it's a more complete game than it seems. Also, it's got really good support. I mentioned I haven't had great support from Modiphius. They hardly ever even mentioned that the game exists. It took a long time, as I said, for the pre-sale. But Robert Salter has a Facebook page, and he's pretty good at reaching out and answering questions on there, and it's a very active page with a lot of other people playing, and who will come and help you with questions on that as well. So I do recommend giving it a try. It's a lot of fun, and I do think that the new version is an improvement on the old game was fun as it was, but I do think the new one improves some of the small faults that were there, and allows you a little more that you can do with it and some more choices. So I recommend taking a look at the game. I invite, if anybody has played this game or you have further questions about the game, I invite comments down in the comment section about those. I'll answer those as soon as I can. Also, if you have any idea for further content you'd like to see us produce here on Cry Havoc Wargaming, we look at the comment section for that as well. If you've enjoyed the video, I hope you'll hit like. And if you'd like to receive further notifications for videos like this one that may help you determine how to better spend your time or money in your tabletop wargaming hobby, then I hope you'll hit subscribe and ring our notification bell. Till next time, cheers.